I can introduce myself.
Okay, all right, you got it.
Is that cool?
Yeah, no, that's totally yours.
So, so my name is Matthew Lab. Thank you for the invitation to chat with the group. Just incidentally, what year are most of you? 2L, I mean, second year, all third, any seniors, anyone just getting ready to graduate? Cool. And so, what I'm interested to know is, especially the seniors, you're certain you're going to go to law school? You really want to go to law school? Yeah. So here's the deal, okay? I think, well, first of all, let me introduce myself. I am a lawyer. I've been practicing law for 22 years. I'm a business and real estate lawyer by training. I guess I started my legal career back in 2001 and worked in a mid-sized firm here in San Diego, practicing business and real estate litigation, which for those of you who don't know what that means things get messed up, things don't go according to plan, and lawsuits happen. And when lawsuits happen, that's litigation, and then we go to court and do things like that, and we fight it out. So I did that for a number of years, and really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. Then I transitioned from what?
No, go ahead. I'm just gonna do something on the computer, don't mind me.
Then I transitioned to in-house counsel. So I led the legal department in a national company that was a private equity company that was in the self-storage space. And we were all over the country. And when I was in that role, I did a transition from being a litigation attorney to, that way because I'm turning sideways.
No, it's okay.
I went from being a litigation attorney as my primary practice to mostly transactional and litigation management. Okay, so when you're in-house, you're like the catch-all. Every single thing that crosses my desk as in-house counsel related to some sort of legal matter in the company, whether it's hiring, firing, so separating employees, contracts, purchase and sale agreements for the assets that we were acquiring, SEC matters, Securities and Exchange Commission matters, because we were an equity company, so we were dealing with investors, all that kind of stuff. I did that for about 3.5 years. And honestly, that was probably the most fun I've ever had in terms of being a lawyer. It just was like amazing. During that time, I started teaching. Strike that. I started teaching in law school as an assistant for a professor, doing small group things, and I loved teaching. And so as soon as I could, I think around 2007, I started teaching real estate law at Miramar College here in San Diego, and I was doing that pretty regularly. And then a position opened up here at San Diego State. So I've been here since 2019, full-time since 2020. I teach business law to the undergraduate students. It's Finance 240. I teach graduate business law, which is BA 671 for our MBA students. And then I teach Finance 333, which is real estate law. I also have a real estate broker's license. I've had that since 2004, I want to say. And that's kind of always been in the background. I've had, a real estate company or a brokerage, I guess, off and on. I still do. I have a couple of agents that work for me, but it's not a focus for me. So being a lawyer is the focus. And so let's talk about law school now. How many of you have any idea what law school is all about? Or how law school is? Have you thought about, most of your second years, the seniors here, are you thinking about LSAT? Have you prepped for the LSAT? Good. At this stage, for the majority of you thinking about law school, the most important thing, obviously, keep your grades up. It doesn't matter what your undergraduate degree is. There's a very narrow exception. If you think that you want to go into intellectual property. Do you know what that is? Intellectual property? Patents. It's like somebody has a patent. They invented this iPhone, right? So they want to protect their intellectual property. Everything that went into this iPhone, they want to protect. And so they file a patent with the US Patent and Trademark Office to protect their rights so nobody can copy this iPhone, okay? If you want to go into patent work, you need to have what we call a degree in hard science. Otherwise, you're ineligible to even sit for the US Patent and Trademark Office bar exam because they have their own exam. They have their own bar exam. But for the majority of you, my guess is you're going to study something like poli-sci. Business? No? Yeah. Honestly, study whatever the heck you want, right? The most important skill, most important thing right now for you is to develop your writing skills. Your writing skills are paramount. You have to have good writing skills, right? To survive law school and to be a decent lawyer. And you want to keep your grades up, okay? You want to keep your grades up. And then thirdly, you have to take a prep course for the LSAT. Have you taken any practice tests?
I've taken the real thing.
You did the real thing?
I didn't do that well, but
It's okay, do it again.
no, I
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
I
yeah.
have to.
Yeah, I had to take it twice. I took the LSAT the first time. I was killing it. And I don't know, I was maybe a little overconfident when I went in for the real thing. And the first session, the first segment was a test. It was a test segment. You don't know that until later. And it was so hard. And I bombed. I got median. Bombed. I was like, oh, took it again. So definitely take it. You gotta take a prep course. Because would you have done well without a prep course?
I didn't take one yet, so.
Oh, you gotta take a prep course.
I know.
Spend the money. Well spent. Yeah, honestly. Because when you're applying to law school, they don't know you as individuals. They know your LSAC account, right? They know numbers. And they just kind of go, hey, we need to meet certain thresholds for our ABA accreditation, right? Law schools, if you want to go to any decent law school, is going to be accredited by the American Bar Association. And so law schools need to maintain certain standards in terms of their numbers, right? Median GPA, median LSAT score, because they consider those to be predictive of how well you will do on the bar exam once you graduate. And so it's real important to kind of keep those numbers up, right? I'm not trying to scare anybody, but I'm just being honest. Do as well, do the best that you can. Now, how about, have any of you thought about, do you want to leave San Diego? Do you want to go to school elsewhere? Where do you ultimately want to be? Good Lord. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. Let's try something else. Who wants to tell me why they want to be a lawyer? Just shout it out. Why do you want to be a lawyer? Why are you even considering law school?
I want to help people and have a really big impact with what I'm doing.
And that's what lawyers do, right? People think, oh, I want to go to law school. I want to be a lawyer because I want to make gobs of money. Yeah, you can make, your income potential as a lawyer is high. It's much higher than if you were not a lawyer, okay? But the thing is, lawyers make a difference. Lawyers make an impact. I think the law degree, the JD, the Juris Doctor degree, is the most impactful and I guess versatile of all the professional degrees. And I'm talking about, engineering, I'm talking about medicine, things like that. Most MDs, they go to medical school for 4 years, then they have to do the residency, and then they go into medicine. It's like, they don't do other things, but lawyers you can do anything. And if I had a slide, there's a cool slide, I can send you the slides, okay. And then you can there you go. And it shows all the different places that you could work with a law degree. And people think, you have to work at a law firm. Yeah, you do. I don't work at a law firm anymore, and I never will again, except for my own practice. But guess what? I don't go into an office. I have an office here at San Diego State and I have an office at California Western School of Law where I run the incubator program. That's it. That's it. You know, lawyers, you can do so many things. You go into politics. One of my former students at Cal Western is the mayor of Palm Springs right now. She was on the news a boatload the other day when Hillary thing came through, right? And so we have graduates who are doing NCAA compliance. How many are any of you student athletes? No. Student athletes at any school like San Diego State or D2 school or anywhere, they have to comply with the rules and regulations of the NCAA. And if they fall out of compliance with how they're treating and interacting with their student athletes and with donors and all that kind of stuff, it costs the school a lot of money, big money. So the majority of athletic directors at D1 schools, I think the number that I last saw was about 80% were JDs. They were lawyers. I mean, they might not be practicing lawyers, but they were JDs, right? You can go into academia. You can go into government. You can go there. Do you know how many FBI agents are JDs? Take a guess. It's pretty high. It's pretty high. I don't say, I've heard it wasn't nearly half, but it's a lot. And they get a gun and get to wear a badge, right? What about the US president? How many presidents have we had? Quick. 40, how many? 40, we're on what, 46? 46? Come on, you can't remember 45? How can you not remember 45? 26 US presidents are lawyers, or were lawyers, okay? 26 out of 46, it's a lot. More than half of senators are lawyers. Well, more than half of the senators are lawyers. And a lot fewer with the House of Representatives. And so the decision to go to law school is a good one. And that decision, though, is a heavy one, right? Getting into law school is hard. Making it through law school is not easy. But if you take a practice course and your GPA is decent, right, as best as it can be, you'll get into law school. You'll get into law school, yeah.
What do you consider like a decent GPA for like law school? What is like the range?
So, I mean, okay, so here's my story, right? So I started here at San Diego State. I went to high school. I was a cyclist back then. All I wanted to do was ride the bike. That's all I wanted to do. Came to San Diego State. All I did was ride the bike. Never went to class. Hardly ever went to class. And so I got, is this going to go into perpetuity? I got what are called unauthorized withdrawals. And I want to say my first semester, I think I got 3 of them. And I was like, well, I was first gen kid going to college, I didn't know. And then, those turn into Fs if you don't complete them. Okay. And so all of a sudden I had 3 Fs and I was like, uh-oh. So I left. And took 2 years off. And then I went to a JC, went to Mesa College and went back in and just focused and pretty much had a 4.0. Come back to San Diego State and cruising along, doing well. And all of a sudden I'm looking, there's that boat anchor of 3 Fs, a boat anchor on my GPA. And so, and I did fine here. I wasn't carrying a 4.0, that's for sure. And so my last year, my major was history. And I was like, okay, I need to switch my major to GPA engineering, right? Because I knew I needed to get my GPA up to like a 3.4, right? Because I was stuck at like a 3.18 or something. I'm like, I got to get it up. And then I just, I took every filler class I could find. I probably graduated with 20% more credits than I needed, to be quite frank, but I got it up to the 3.4. And I mean, some of you are probably, that's not that good. I know, I hear it from my students all the time. It's like, they're like, I think now to get into San Diego State, the bar is so high for you all in terms of your numbers coming out of high school. It wasn't the same back when I came here. This was like a safe school. And I'm like killing myself. And so it wasn't I don't want to say safe school. But like compared to like UCSD, it's not the same anymore. Now this is a difficult school to get into. So you're coming in at a standard where you're most of you probably had 3.7, 3.8, 4.0, higher than a 4.0 in high school. So trust me, I hear it all the time. You're used to getting really high grades. And so it's hard for me to predict exactly what is a high GPA. I know looking at the numbers at Cal Western, you know, the bottom 25th percentile in terms of the entering class is going to be around a 2.9, 3.0. But with that, correspondingly, you have to have a higher LSAT score. Okay. LSAT score is key though, really. It's an equalizer. And so the next decision though, group, is where do you go? And my suggestion is go to the best school that you can. The best school that you can. And I don't, US News and World Report, hate it, love it, whatever. For whatever reason, it's got a lot of weight. There are some schools in there you just kind of wonder, well, how are they in the top 50, right? But by and large, usually if there's name recognition for the school, it's important. It really is. And Cal Western is a good school. It's a regional school though. It's a regional school. I would even say USD is a regional school. University of San Diego. There's 2 law schools in San Diego, basically, if you don't know. There's 3. But one is not accredited by the ABA. That's Thomas Jefferson. So I would suggest that you don't go to Thomas Jefferson, okay? Cal Western and USD are both ABA accredited. USD, the University of San Diego, which is a Catholic private school, the tuition for USD and the tuition for Cal Western is going to be about the same. And honestly, the tuition for a UC school, I went to a UC law school. When I went to law school, the tuition was $8,500 a year. It's over $50K now per year, right? It's a lot of money. But it's going to be expensive across the board. So my thing is try to get into the best school that you can, but also consider going where they give you scholarship money. But I wouldn't let that be the ultimate factor in the decision-making process, where they give you a free ride. Yeah.
So what would you say the best school in California?
Stanford. And then followed very closely by Cal. Then I would say Cal, UCLA, Hastings, Irvine's new though. Irvine's new. They've got a great dean. And then there's like Davis. That's a good school too. But you're out there by Sacramento. It's not exactly the nicest place to be. No offense. If you're from out there, no offense. It's hot in the summer and cold in the winter. But there are other schools though, right? So like the University of Arizona, for example, good law school, well ranked. Their tuition's pretty low comparatively. The challenge though, group though, is if you were studying at a school that's outside the state of California and you plan to come back home, if this is home for you, or this is where you intend to reside, you've got to think about the bar exam. And it helps being exposed to 3 years of California law when you're going to take the bar exam. Then, you look at the numbers from like the Yaleys or the Harvard grads taking the Cal bar, they're not that great. Sometimes they're good, but sometimes you're like, whoa, when 50% of them fail. That's not good, but that's a consideration. Okay. So what questions do you have rather than just me talking at you? Please.
Do you know any like mentorship programs? Mentorship?
So there are plenty of them for once you're in law school, right?
But like not as a student.
This is like.
I'm under your name.
Hi, excuse me, I have a question.
Oh, hi.
How's it going? Yeah,
Give me a sec so I can answer this one first.
I'm
and
sorry.
then I'll jump back.
My
to you.
bad.
Yeah, that's okay. So the San Diego County Bar Association, they don't have like a membership for undergrad students, but they open up certain events, mixers and things like that to everyone. Okay. And if you go on their website, there will be a calendar and it shows those events and it'll say open to the public or whatever. You can go to those. And those are good ways just to get out there and meet people, right? They have a welcome to the San Diego County Bar event, and it's usually later in the fall. So I would look for that. And that's where all the new law students, they converge on the bar center. And it's kind of like an open house thing. You can go to that. That'd be good. Okay. That'd be good. And you can remind me, I'll send you a link to that. Okay. And then Sam, I think it was Sam.
Yeah, sorry. Quick question. So I was looking to pursue the military law route. Do you know anything about that? Like, what do they do?
A lot of pre-deployment wills.
Wow. Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. JAG going to the military and becoming a judge advocate general, military lawyer is a great path. It's a great path. I do know plenty of JAGs and they laugh and they say they do a lot of pre-deployment wills and estate planning and all that kind of stuff. The cool thing about JAG though, is you rotate, right? They rotate you around regularly. So, you know, for one rotation, you'll be doing those types of things. You'll be working in their legal center, like here in San Diego or whatever, dealing with a lot of that, dealing with a lot of lease issues if the service members are off military housing, et cetera. But then they rotate into criminal law. So they're prosecuting and defending cases under the UCMJ, the Uniform basically the Code of Military Justice, right? It's their own body of law. And so there's a lot of benefits to it, right? We're a big Navy town for JAG. But at Cal Western, we also get recruited pretty heavily by Air Force, believe it or not. There's a decent Air Force presence in Southern California. And so we place plenty of folks there. One of the trustees at the law school at California Western School of Law was the judge advocate general. And his name's Bruce McDonald. And he was actually the presiding judge at Gitmo during a lot of those, the 9/11 trials. So he's a fascinating guy. And he's a really good resource too. He helps a lot of the grads get into JAG. So that's a great career. But you know, that brings me to another point. There are plenty of graduates from law school who get their JD and they say, you know what, I don't really want to practice law. I certainly don't want to take the bar exam. So they pursue careers in government, working for the Department of Navy. And the Department of the Navy here in San Diego is huge. And they do everything from handling all the contracts administration, when they're doing shipbuilding or ship repairs, they're doing logistics, they're doing all those types of things. So they're doing lawyer work, but they don't necessarily have a law license, meaning they haven't yet passed the bar. And it's a 9-to-5 job with incredible benefits. Super, super good work-life balance. One of my colleagues actually at Cal Western left the law school to go do that. Now he's like associate general counsel. And so he's back doing more law, lawyer stuff. And he loves it. And he works from home. And he gets to see his kids like all the time. Sorry. Yeah, he works from home a lot. And he's just like, hanging out with the girls. Okay, cool. And I thought she was raising her hand. Yes.
So is it absolutely impossible to do intellectual property without having, like, what you said, is it a hard science major? What kind of major is that?
So, okay, great question. Thank you. Hard science, math. So, like, I know someone who has a bio degree and they had to waive in. So you don't automatically, you're not automatically eligible to sit for the USPTO, the Patent and Trademark Office exam, with a bio degree. With chemistry, you are, computers, you are, math, you are, those types of things, physics for sure, engineering all day long. But it was just bio. He had to show them transcripts, and literally they counted up the classes and basically filled in whatever the matrix rubric was rather, and said, oh, okay, you qualify.
And that's for undergrad. you mean?
That was undergrad. So that he had to present his undergrad transcript. And that's where they tallied up the classes. And so, but in answer to your question, in order to practice before the USPTO, meaning if somebody invented this phone, right? Okay, the phone, and they give me all the designs, and they say, I want you to protect my design, my invention. Cool. We draw up the patent application. We do all the drawings and have all the information related to that phone. I would submit it to the US Patent and Trademark Office, and then I would prosecute it. I would prosecute the application, right? I would argue in favor of granting the application. And then I'd have to deal with the examiners. They would say, well, this and that, and they'd ask all these questions, and I have to do that. I would have to be admitted to the USPTO. Now, later, and I'll get to you in just one sec, thanks. What happens if someone copies this? There's a patent on it, someone copies it. Now, whoever holds the patent on this phone sues the patent infringer, the company that's violating my patent. This is my patent, I own it, and you're violating it. Now I'm suing them. Now I sue them in normal court. So the attorney who's representing me and trying that case does not have to be patent barred. It could be anyone who's just a darn good litigator. But usually those darn good litigators, they focus on patent litigation. Okay, does that answer your question a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
So could you kind of like emphasize or like take classes related to IP law, like in law school, and then not?
So they do count classes that you take in law school, but those aren't what the US Patent and Trademark Office bar exam is not. There's nothing law about it. It's not. It's I mean, you could take that your first year of law school. In fact, one of my buddies did. He failed it, then he took it again. Just whatever, you do it that way. But and he's the one, his degree was in bio, but he had neuroscience also. So he had done pre-med for a while, and so he had a lot of classes, and they counted him. So he qualified, and he's still practicing IP stuff today, IP law today. Your question.
Classes here at STSU, do you recommend to take in preparation, like in terms of workload or skills or anything like that?
I would take as many writing classes as you can,
Okay.
right? Rhetoric and writing, whatever it's called. I would take what's your major? So, I mean, I would take a law class if you can. See if you could take what year are you?
There-
You can still take business law. Try to
Is
take
there
that.
any prereq for it?
No.
I'll look at that.
Either of you. You just speak up.
What would you say is the flexibility for moving like from one field of law to another? Like, not to be that person, but let's say you have like $250,000 of like
Yeah.
student debt, and you're like, I want to pay that off, but you know, maybe a high earning lawyer job isn't fulfilling. How would you say like flexibility for moving fields?
So I hear this, and I've known lawyers who've come into my program at the law school, right? And it's a program, again, it supports newer lawyers who are going into solo or small firm practice. And a lot of times they come to me and they say, listen, I've got a lot of debt. I have an offer with this firm and they're going to pay me X amount of money. But I really ultimately want to go out and do my own thing because I want the flexibility. Okay. And I tell them, stick with the firm for as long as you can, right? Because not only it'll help you pay down your debt, but it will give you training that will help you survive later. Now, in answer to your question about making turns, right? Changing practice areas, you can totally change practice areas. I'm kind of a believer that your practice area kind of chooses you. Because that's kind of what happened with me. And it's happened with a lot of other people that I know. You just tend to gravitate towards something. And you know, and like I mentioned earlier, I did a lot of litigation, trial work in the first probably 10 years of my practice. And since then, I've tapered it off big time. I mean, if I have a case that's literally going to trial, I won't first chair it because I just don't have time. And I just don't want to do that. So I'll second chair it. And I had a case going to trial that was going to trial about 6 months ago. And I was what we call Kumis counsel, right? So what that means is I represented somebody who was an insured. So they had an insurance policy and they got sued. So we tendered the defense of that case to the insurance company where we thought that there was insurance coverage. Okay, we thought it was a covered event. And it was. So they accept coverage, but now the insurance company, they're representing the attorneys for the insurance company are representing the interests of the insured, yes, right? But also the insurance company, right? So there's a conflict there. And it's a conflict that you really can't resolve. So you have a right under this particular case called Kumis versus Mission Fed here in San Diego, incidentally, where the insured has a right to have counsel of their own choosing to make sure that the carrier counsel for the insurance company are acting in their best interest, the insured. And that's what I was. I was second chair. I was helping the farmers. She was with farmers. Overworked lawyer, overworked. She had so many cases. Oh my gosh. But we were about a week from a jury trial. And I was kind of excited, actually, I got to be honest. And then it settled. But yes, you can make left turns. I focus more on commercial transactions now. I didn't before, right? But I was exposed to commercial transactions because I was litigating cases involving commercial contracts. So I know the contracts. I know how to draft contracts. Why? Because I've read so many of them. Okay. So now for me to go all of a sudden say, you know what, I think I want to practice family law. Not a good idea. I mean, the path, the practices need to be kind of symbiotic and somehow related, right? And you'll find that the path kind of works that way. It just naturally lays itself out for you. Okay. Good question. And someone else had a question. No? Anyone else? Yeah.
So-
I like follow-up questions.
Well, you mentioned like commercial transactions, so I'm just curious, if we were to want to go into business law, would you recommend we get a business degree?
So that's another really good question. So here's the deal. When I went in-house, and I'm just being honest, when I went in-house, coming out of a real estate and litigation background where I wasn't exposed except for litigating contracts, I wasn't exposed to the business world at all. Now, all of a sudden, I'm going to the C-suite meetings with the board of these companies, and they're talking a language that I didn't understand. The learning curve, when I say I couldn't breathe for 6 months, I couldn't breathe for 6 months. But it was so fun. The other cool thing about being in-house or working for the government or being in academia, you don't chase the billable hour. In law firms survive because the attorneys are billing clients for their work. And attorneys bill really in 6-minute increments. Okay. If I pick up a pencil and I'm thinking about a case, 0.1, right? And that's how we bill our clients. And at law firms, they have all the attorneys in the firm, and even paralegals now have a billable hour requirement for the year. And so my old firm, the billable hour requirement that's a hard thing to say, billable hour requirement. My billable requirement was 2,000 hours a year. So that means, assuming I get 2 weeks off, which I didn't, I'd have to bill 50 for 50 weeks. I have to bill 40 hours a week. Now that sounds, you're like, dude, that's an 8-hour a day. You can't bill every minute when you're at the firm. So that meant you're working a 10, 11, 12-hour day. Yeah, pretty regularly. I will say that I've heard anecdotally that a lot of firms are trying to change this. I don't know if it's true. Because when you look at the salaries they're paying new attorneys at especially the large law firms. I mean, it's the big firms, AmLaw 200, the top 200 firms, they're paying north of 200K for a new attorney, brand new green attorney. That's a lot of money. You better believe they got a billable hour requirement, and it's probably about 2,400, right? One of my old partners at the old firm, I just went to lunch with him yesterday. He's at Procopio here in San Diego, great firm. And I mean, they're billing 2,400. It's a lot of hours, group. When you go in-house, you don't have any of that. I had 0 billable hours. Government work, 0. JAG, 0. Academia, 0. Yeah.
I was just wondering, is it possible to go in-house without working for a law firm?
That's
first through the
It's a great question. No, it's darn near impossible, right? Because here's the deal when you're in-house. When you're in-house, your job is to keep the company out of trouble. Out of trouble. And so your job is to identify the landmines, the legal pitfalls, the legal problems before they occur. And if they do occur, maybe they didn't run something through legal and something happens, you got to fix that problem. And so the only way you have that experience is by just having the experience in general. Now, the caveat is this. There are some large in-house law departments that are large enough where they can bring in entry-level attorneys and train them. But I don't know of any in San Diego. Qualcomm, maybe. Qualcomm's probably the only one. They have a big in-house department. But as far as I know, Qualcomm doesn't hire. I know they don't hire from Cal Western, and I don't think they hire from USD. They're kind of like a Harvard, Stanford, Yale kind of place, you know? And that's the other thing too. And that's kind of just being real. It matters. It does matter. Name recognition does matter with the law schools. So aim as high as you can, but I'll obviously be mindful of the cost, right? So, I mean, I wouldn't say if your top choice is, ranked in the top 15 and they're not offering you any money, but you also get an offer from one that's ranked in the top 30 or maybe even top 40, but they're giving you money, scholarships, I'd probably be fine with that, right? Anything else? Any other questions? Yeah.
Insight or know anybody in entertainment?
Yeah. I mean, I have attorneys in my program who've gone into entertainment. The thing is, so there's a lot of different fields in entertainment, right? You could be on the management side or on the artist side. On the management side, I have like maybe 1 or 2 in LA. On the talent side, right, the artist side, I know a lot of them. And some of them, they're very specialized in terms of the type of, whether they're athletes, whether the type of talent that they represent, whether they're artists in recording or social media or whatever that might be. They're plenty. It's tough business. I'll be honest. It's tough business because they're all competing for the same talent. Everybody wants the next Derek Jeter, right? Or everybody wants the next Beyonce. And so, a lot of them are signing, they represent new and emerging artists, and, you take a risk. It's cool though. But a lot of them, at least the attorneys that are going through my program, I encourage them to diversify and to do other things, right? That are related, business law, because that's what it is. It's just business law. But you're representing a commodity, a talent. You're still dealing with contracts. You're still dealing with all the same things that a normal business attorney is going to deal with. Here's the other problem though. If you're getting a sports agency, anybody could be an agent. You don't have to be a lawyer. Okay. If you want to be an NFL agent, you qualify with the Players Association. I don't know if there's an exam they have to take. I don't remember what they do, but so now you're competing with just a Joe Blow off the street who happened to take the same qualification that you did. And now they're registered with the Players Association to represent to represent players. And now if you're a lawyer and you're admitted to the bar of the state of California, guess who's looking over your shoulder? the state bar. Because now you have a higher level of ethical, standards that you have to meet, and they don't. Uneven playing field, not good. Not saying it can't work, but I'm just, that's a reality in athletics. Yeah, in athletics. Okay. What else? The other thing too, if you're a sports agent, you're not the one who's drafting the contracts. You're basically hammering out deal points, and that's about it. So they hire like attorneys who specialize in athletic contracts and engagement agreements and all that kind of stuff. So you can do that. That's probably less competitive, right? There's not as much money though. Good question. What else? And if you want to go into criminal law, yeah, that's busy. You want to be a trial lawyer? Because that's what you'll be. Criminal lawyers, whether you're on the defense or you're a prosecutor, you're in court at least half of your time, half your day. Not half your day necessarily, but half your time, 50% of the time in court, in trial, arguing, and you'll get good at it. And that's one area where you can actually make a left turn. So say, because I've seen it. Some of the attorneys in my program, they were at the public defender's office, and they'd been there, I think, 5 years. And they came to me and they said, listen, we're all bouncing. We're dipping from the public defender's office, and we want to start our own firm. And I said, well, what's your practice going to be? They said personal injury. Right. And I'm like, all right. And so they did. Three of them bounced, left the PD's office on the same day. We had worked for about 6 months doing all the legwork to set their firm up, and they're killing it. Why? Because that's a transferable skill. You try a case, you can do whatever. Doesn't matter. You were defending, people accused of crimes. You were in court every day. It's just it's same process, different arguments. Oh, they're killing it. They're killing it. Bada Fulkerson, have you seen those guys? The personal injury firm with all their little bulldogs? They kind of the same thing with those guys. Kind of the same thing. They started off with King Ahmedpour, this other guy. You see his ads on the bus stops with the big shiny white teeth. They worked with him for a while, but they had come out of the public defender's office as well. So you can make those turns. Okay. All right.
I was interested in immigration.
Okay.
So I guess what do you recommend going in that route?
I think
Because I'm not exactly from here, so I guess I'm not too familiar with the firms or anything like that.
so. Immigration firms typically, for personal immigration, they're usually small firms, right? Solo or 1 or 2 attorneys. If they're doing visa applications and things like that, if they're doing business immigration, right, they tend to be larger law firms. It'll be like a division within or a practice group within a larger law firm. It's a solid practice area. Yeah, it really is. It does ebb and flow though with the administration, right? It goes up and down. The rules change, good or bad, with every administration that comes in. So you got to be prepared for that. I guess that's also good though, because you're always learning. It's never going to get boring or dull. There's no special training for that though. I mean, like the patent, you'd need for a patent to become a patent attorney or anything like that. The other cool thing about immigration though, is you could practice in any state. If you're licensed in one state, like California, you can move to Arizona and still practice immigration because it's federal. It's federal. And so it's different. You're not practicing state law, right? Still practicing federal law. So long as you're admitted to practice in one federal jurisdiction, which all new lawyers would, you get sworn into at least one federal district. Then you can practice anywhere. Yeah, so that's cool. Gives you good flexibility. Anything else, group? Okay.
What about for legal custody, what about-
Family law?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, in my program at the law school, the family law attorneys are making probably the most money. Especially when we were coming out of COVID. Seemed like a lot of things were going bad. It's not an easy practice, right? Because those cases have a lot of strings attached to them, a lot of emotion. But all of them seem to really enjoy it. It is one of those practices where, yeah, during law school, you're going to want to do an internship with an immigration. Well, with the immigration, geez, hello, the family court. Okay, it's its own separate court here in San Diego. They have an office called the Family Law Facilitator's Office. They take 20, 30 plus interns every semester, and you work there, and you learn how to fill out the forms and all that. Family law is one of those practice areas that's very form driven. So you don't have to draft a lot of documents from scratch, right? So it's a good practice area. I don't touch criminal law. I've never touched family law. I knew two things when I was going into law school. Those were the things I didn't want to do. Other than that, everything is, the sky was the limit. But family law and crim law, I was out. Those are not going to happen for me. No. So, good question. Anything else? Yes.
Do you have any tips or recommendations for someone who thinks that?
So it's interesting with academia, right? Because in traditional college settings, most of your, or if not all of your faculty, your full-time tenured faculty are PhDs. The JD, the Juris Doctor degree, they consider that to be, it's a professional degree. So like here at San Diego State, like in the nursing department, we have nurse practitioners, we have registered nurses, and some of them are lecturers or assistant professors. To get into academia, I mean, I only know the route that I took. And the route that I took was I started teaching real estate law at a JC, and I impressed the right people. And I worked that way. And then when the position opened up here in 2019, I was approached, taught that class, and then in 2020, I went full-time. But there are other areas in academia where there are a lot of lawyers, right? And I mentioned them earlier. In the athletics department, in compliance, for example, a lot of them are JDs. There are licensed, like at UCSD, big research colleges, they have licensing agreements, they have grants that they're dealing with, millions and millions and millions of dollars. They have so many compliance officers over at UCSD that are not dealing with athletics at all. It's all dealing with, like the licensing agreements, and are they dealing with, FDA clinical trials at the med school? Most of them are JDs. And that's a good quality of life, right? They get paid well, they get good benefits, and they have 0 billable hours to chase. 0. So there are a lot of avenues into academia other than teaching. The teaching, though, in terms of like going the traditional route for like law school faculty, you have to go to a top 10 school, just about, period. It's got to be Harvard, Stanford, Yale, and some others. And then what they'll normally do is they'll graduate from law school, and then they'll do a clerkship, a federal clerkship with a federal judge. And then from there, they'll pick up a teaching fellowship at some law school, and then they go into their career. It's super hard to get, super, super hard to be a tenure faculty at a law school. It's almost impossible. Well, anything's possible. At the law school at Cal Western, they have so many people wanting to just be a lecturer or an adjunct lecturer. They pay them $2,000 for the entire semester, for the entire course. Don't quote me on that, but it's bad because they can. There's hundreds of people in line wanting to teach, as a lecturer, as an adjunct lecturer. $2,000 for the whole semester? Anyways, I do digress. And don't quote me on that. It's a good school though. What else?
Do you think it would be beneficial at all to get your paralegal certification before graduating going into law school?
So I've seen a lot of students coming into Cal Western who were paralegals. And I actually think it helps them because they know the lingo. They're familiar with it. I would say it might not be beneficial if it's going to cost you a lot of money. If it's cheap, then do it. That's not a bad idea. I do strongly believe that it doesn't really matter what your undergrad degree is. I would tell you to focus on something that's interesting to you, that makes you read a lot, that makes you write a lot, unless you want to go into IP, something like that. I mean, all the garden variety, poli-sci, English, philosophy, all of those things. Those are pretty standard for law school. But law schools don't look at their admissions department. They don't go, we want all poli-sci majors. They don't. They want to diversify the class. They really do. And having someone with a paralegal certificate certainly helps. And I do think they tend to do better in that first year because that first year is kind of a shock. It's a new language. And you're reading a lot. That's the key too. You're reading a lot. We good?
Maybe on 7 minutes.
So that's my biggest suggestion is get ready to read a lot and work on writing. Your writing skills are pretty important. Okay. And law school's fun. I loved it actually. I thought it was great. I hate to say this, but I didn't like undergrad. It was like when I finally got to law school, I'm like, this is what I really want to do. As I suffered doing history, you know, trust me, San Diego State was a different school back then. I'm going to be straight honest. Totally different. It doesn't even look the same. Not even close. Not even close. I mean, I teach every now and then, like down in Hepner Hall in same classrooms that I had, but it's not even close. Night and day, 100%. Nobody lived on campus, or very few people lived on campus. It was a commuter school. We came and we went. Now, it's like it's a good college. It's a proper college. It's awesome. So I think I would have enjoyed it more now. So kind of disregard what I just said. Law school is fun though. Once you get there, you're studying what you really want to do. Okay. And I will, yeah.
Kind of going off the
Yeah.
question, like what sort of timeline would you recommend, like taking a couple years after undergrad, or like what do you recommend doing for undergrad?
So we call the students who go straight through K through JDs, right? K through JDs. And there's a higher level, I would just say, anecdotally, of burnout because they just go, man, I've been going full bore since kindergarten. I, as I kind of mentioned, I took the longer route. And then when I graduated, I graduated here in 96 and I didn't start law school till 98. And that wasn't really by choice. It was just because my then wife was doing her graduate work. And so I kind of had to tread water. I was working as a chef up in LA. And then, but I will say this, when I went back to law school, having taken 2 years off, the first semester, I mean, I didn't get the grades that I expected. I mean, I saw a couple of C pluses and I was like, ruh-roh, C plus, never, ever in my life, you know, and I figured I figured it out for the second semester, but that first semester, and I think a lot of students were out in the same boat, you know, they were like, dude, how did I just get a C plus? Ouch. So, and I think had I been closer to academics, right, and more in that mode, it would have been easier. It would have been easier, yeah. So, and then when you're in law school, right, even if you're K through JD, right, do a semester abroad. That's what I did. And I wasn't a K through JD. That was the highlight of law school. I'm gonna be honest. That was the highlight of law school. I did a semester in Spain, and that was so much fun. And we weren't subject to the grade curve, because our school had a grade curve. And so we weren't subject to it. So then all of a sudden I amjured like with the top grade in 2 classes. Oh, it was so great. It was awesome. That was fun. Anyways. Thanks for having me. I hope I didn't keep you too long. Normally I don't talk this long, even my my long classes. But
Is there a way they can contact you if they have further
yeah,
questions?
I mean, it's mlab@SDSU, simple dimple M, or I think I might have some cards. Oh, I do. I have some cards if you want them. I'll leave them here. I don't have a lot, but you all could see it. Yeah, I'm happy to chat. Always. And if none of you are my students, just you. Did you ever email me?
I did actually.
And did I respond quickly?
You did.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much. So yeah, happy to chat. Okay. Thanks for hanging out. Good luck.
Okay, thank you.
Good luck.
Thank
for
you
having me.
very much for
That was fun.
coming. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, if I had my PowerPoint, it might have been a little
Yeah,
bit.
we could have prepared a little bit. It's fine.
Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Set the bar
Can I ask
high.